Okay, so here's the first part of how to charge your biochar. So I haven't even made my char yet. I have a wood pile. This is all comfrey. If you don't have comfrey, just use whatever that's water, rainwater actually, but it could be any kind of water. It could be hose water. Doesn't have to be a container this big. It can be a smaller container if that's what you like. But this is comfrey. If you don't have comfrey, rip some weeds and stuff out of your yard, or if you're cleaning up your garden, all that greens, the plants that you rip out, like the tomato plants and all of that, keep in mind you've been fertilizing that. There's plenty of nutrition in those leaves and stuff. Throw any kind of green plant matter that you might have from your garden, your yard, whether it's weeds, whether it's, whatever it is, leaves, whatever. Take that and just throw it over in some water. That's step one. I'm going to show y'all how I collect this comfrey. I'm not real careful about it. Just grab it and rip it up. It's not a big deal. There's some on the ground over here. I want to get all that. If you're not growing comfrey, it'd be good for you to grow some. Like I said, just throw it in the water. You ain't got to chop it up. You see a lot of people chopping it up and doing all that stuff. Save yourself some time. Just put it in the water. We're doing this the easy way. We're not doing this the rocket science way. We're doing this the way that makes the most sense time efficiency wise. If you look in here, I got comfrey growing up through here. This comfrey is actually kind of being shaded a little bit, but where it does get the light, it does grow. So I'm gonna get a little bit more. That's probably all I'm gonna need. But like I said, just get whatever you got, people. Get whatever you got. Throw it in the water. So this is step one. Do this at least 3 or 4 days before you make your char, at least. And I'm gonna come back and I'll be making my char then, and I'll be explaining to you why you just did that step. Actually, we're making comfrey tea. I'll explain what you need the comfrey tea for. Yeah, so hang tight. When I come back, we'll be making the char. Alright, y'all. Step one to making biochar. Fire. So, just in case you hadn't figured that out yet, burn whatever wood you got. Can't be leaves or anything. I think leaves are burned down into ash a little bit too fast. Burn pile don't have to be as big as mine. But this is just, I got a lot of stuff out here. So I'll be cleaning up. Limbs fall out of trees. All kind of stuff. I got big stuff in there, little stuff in there, but light it up. So that's step one. Alright, y'all. So it's only been about 3 or 4 minutes. And all the little stuff kind of burnt down. The pile is about 10 feet by 5 feet or so. It's not a perfect circle. But I generally don't leave my fires unattended. However, you can do whatever you like to do. See stuff like this that falls off the tree. All this little stuff that goes in. I cleared a lot of this area right here not too long ago. A lot of that was what the green stuff was on top. Still a lot of sticks and twigs on the ground, but that's just something I fight with this yard. So yeah, once again, not rocket science. Just keep letting it burn. Now keep in mind, the way I'm showing you how to do this is the way to do it without like any gadgets or fancy stuff. Um, you are going to lose some of your wood to being ashes, but at the same time, it is what it is. You can still use the ashes in the garden. They have a lot of nutrients in them. They're really good for your fruit trees. You got fruit trees. So, but yeah, this is the way to do it without digging a huge pit, or this is basically the easy way to do it without a whole lot of work. So let this continue to burn down some. You see you got a lot of still big limbs and humps like that. Um, but you don't want to let this burn all the way until it burns itself out, because everything will be ash by that point. Um, you pretty much want to let this stuff burn until it's burned through, but it's not ashes. It's basically embers. So you see the orange stuff down in the middle down in there? That's already charcoal, but it's in the middle. So I can't really get it right now. And it's okay. Like I said, you're going to lose some to ash, but you're going to get quite a bit of charcoal out of this. I'm going to probably take all this little green stuff and flip it over in there. But I got to be careful, y'all. This fire is hot. I don't think y'all can see it on camera, but I can see it with my naked eye. You know, those heat waves that show you that something's hot. Like you look around it and the stuff is waving like that. I mean, it's hot, y'all. I'm probably standing 8 feet back, and I'm starting to sweat. So, and this is why a lot of people ask me, had I done it yet? Had I done it yet? Look, I live in the South, y'all. It's hot. I'm not finna do this. It's like 75 today, and it feels like 80 something. But it's cool enough and it's moist enough for me to be able to do it. Another reason why I can't do it sometimes is because if they prohibit you to burn anything because the ground's too dry, and you run the risk of setting your city on fire. So there's times when I can't do it then as well. I prefer to do this kind of stuff when it's cold outside. I usually do it at night. That way nobody can actually see what I'm doing. Like, they don't see the smoke because it's dark. And I do it in a part of my yard where nobody really can see it unless you're in the backyard. So, not necessarily I'm just trying to hide from people. It's just, you know, better safe than sorry. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. So yeah, so that's some tips for you. You can do this at night, but I wanted to film this and show y'all. So I really didn't have the liberty to do it at night because you wouldn't be able to see good. I mean, you'd be able to see the fire, but you wouldn't be able to see like the next step. What I actually do to start separating the charcoal from the ash and what you actually want to do. So I'm gonna come back when this is burned down a little bit further and start showing y'all the next step. Alright, y'all, so I went in the house for a little bit. To be honest with you, I probably let this burn down a little too far. But all of this stuff right in here, the little stuff, y'all see all that? This stuff you want to leave behind. It's that stuff. Whoa. Sometimes you can commit too far. Push too hard. Alright, y'all. So now, you'll see right there, I got me a little bed of coal. So, what you want to do is come a little closer. I don't want to burn my camera up. It's about hot, y'all. You're doing this, be very careful. Not underestimate the spot. Now that was water. Don't underestimate how much water you're gonna need either. That ain't enough. pour your water on your coals. Like I said, don't underestimate how much it's going to take to get this out. It's going to take a little bit. Or you're going to have some stuff that's actually not done. That stuff, throw it back. You can tell what's done and what's not, because if it's done, it's almost gonna be almost just like white. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know how coals, they get white, gray like if it fall in down there. Y'all know how briquettes they ash over, they get white, and that's how you can tell they're done. But I need more water, y'all. Alright, y'all, we're getting a little closer. I'm still gonna throw some more water on that. But I'm telling y'all, you will think that stuff is out, and it's not. If you go more toward the middle, you'll see more and more charcoal. See if y'all can see what I'm doing. Y'all might can't see. No, y'all can kind of see. I know it's real smoky, y'all, but just move the big stuff on top out of the way, and really get in there and get them embers that's on the bottom. Y'all know what charcoal looks like. And if it's not done, kick it back over to the middle. Let those big pieces finish. Y'all see how I'm kind of pulling the big stuff? Probably can't see, it's smoking like crazy now. I'm sorry, y'all. Alright, y'all. Y'all see that fresh pile of gray up here at the front? Got all that out. Let's dash this. again, you want this all the way out, because if it's not out, if you got a section that's still, see how that section's still smoking? If you got a section that's still smoking like that, it'll catch all your charcoal back on fire. Like if you go in for the night, it'll catch all that back on fire, and when you wake up in the morning, you won't have nothing but ash. So you will have just wasted your time. So make sure you put it out. Now I'm using rainwater to put this stuff out with. You do not have to use rainwater by any means. I got a little bit of a puddle right here, so I'm gonna make use of it. Got some still smoking right there. A little bit more, y'all, a little bit more. Alright, y'all see this little spot right here in the front? Alright, oh, I got that little section over there. I got another little section on the other side. Let me show you. Sometimes you can't get all your ashes off of one side. You have to get them where you can get them at. So, y'all see that little pile of white there? Let's get that. You do not have to do like I'm doing and use buckets. I'm using rainwater because I don't want to run my water bill up. So that's why I'm using rainwater. But you can use your water hose. It'll be much easier. You can just you can easily just spray. Come on, get off of there. Trying to play me. And if all of this ain't completely burned through, don't panic. It's okay. If you got a few little pieces of wood, what's gonna happen is you put them little pieces of wood in your garden, and they will just break down into organic matter for you. So it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. Every single piece ain't charcoal. I believe this is gonna be the last bucket for this go around till we got some more of that to burn down some. See, we had a little bit of, and you can see some of the pieces that ain't burned all the way through. Sometimes I throw them back. But that's a little pile there. This ain't burned all the way through. So we got the ashes out. Now, I'll show you the next step. So, hopefully y'all can see me. I ain't too close. So I just want to jump on here and tell y'all right quick. So what we just made basically was just charcoal. That's all. We just made charcoal. Burn wood. Don't burn it all the way to ash. You just want to burn it until it's basically all carbon. All the water is out of it. And the other flammable gases that are in wood. Got that mosquito. So that's basically what we just did, right? Okay, so I want to mention to you, when you make that charcoal, you can barbecue with it. You can use it in a wood stove. You can use it pretty much for anything that you can use charcoal for. You can eat it. I know they sell you this activated charcoal. That bullshit. It's regular charcoal. They're not doing nothing but grinding it up. So yeah, so you can do anything with it. I barbecue with that all the time because primarily what I have in my charcoal is oak. I don't have any issues with taste or flavor profiles or nothing like that. I do have pear wood back there too, but my pear wood I usually just throw in there as wood and not as charcoal. But and if you make your own charcoal, it's better. It doesn't have any chemicals in it. I know some lump charcoal doesn't have any chemicals. They just burn it and put it in a bag. But a lot of the charcoal and a lot of the briquettes, they have horrible chemicals in them. If you're using anything that's like match light or whatever, you ain't got to use lighter fluid. I got news. It's got lighter fluid in it. My charcoal, I don't use lighter fluid. I light it using leaves pretty much, and it'll catch. I don't have to use no chemicals. So that's another pro to it. So like I said, all we do is make charcoal, right? So let me explain how biochar works. A piece of charcoal is basically like a sponge. Pretty, like, think of it like a sponge. So a sponge has a bunch of different holes and crevices and all that stuff in it. That's why when bacteria decide they want to grow on your sponge, they have 1,000,006 places to grow. That's why sponges usually harbor a lot of bacteria, to be honest. And that's why I don't use sponges. It's something wrong with this dude. Anyway, so that being said, the charcoal gives a ton of surface area for microbes in the soil to actually grow on. That means mycelium from mushrooms. That means bacteria, helpful bacteria in the soil. Anything in the soil that could be helpful. It also soaks up a lot of nutrition. Like it'll soak up nitrogen, anything your plants might need. That's why when you put biochar in your soil, you're actually basically creating an environment for your soil to be very nutritious for a very long time. If you study like I think it's in the Amazon where they had terra preta, where they would dig huge pits and burn trees and logs and stuff, those soils were said to be nutritious for thousands and thousands of years. They're very, very, very rich soils because of the ability of that charcoal to have, number one, a lot of microbial activity. Number two, it also has a lot of nutrition. It's like I said, it's like a sponge. It soaks up any type of nutrition you could imagine. So it actually keeps your soil healthy and fertile for a long time. So that's another thing that charcoal does for you. Now, when you hear about people saying, oh, I put charcoal in my soil and my plants suffered the first year or two, that's because they didn't activate it. So the step that I'm about to show you now is a step that you don't have to do, but it would be better if you did it. Because if you don't activate your charcoal and you just throw it in your garden, which I've done that, it's not a huge problem, but you're going to have to feed, wherever you put it, you're going to have to feed it more until the charcoal is sufficiently, has absorbed everything that it can absorb. And then, therefore, it'll just hold the nutrients in order for your plants to leach them out. And as time goes on, it absorbs more nutrients. Your plants get those nutrients out of the soil. It absorbs more. So it does this over and over and over again. When you hear about crop rotation would have never been needed had people used biochar or charcoal in the soils. If commercial farmers would do it, they wouldn't have to do what they do to their soils to actually make them be able to grow anything. If you've ever seen farms in the soil, it looks terrible. And it is terrible because all they do is use triple 20 or triple 10 and just fertilize. But the soil has no residual nutrition. To me, this is a better way to garden. It ends up being a cheaper way to garden. You don't have to feed as much. Your soils will maintain a lot of the nutrition instead of it just all leaching out into the ground around that's not being gardened or farmed on. So you actually end up with a much better soil in the end. If you have really great soil, it's really easy to garden, y'all. And that's probably why I get away with not really fertilizing with anything other than comfrey tea and uh, worm castings and things like that. I don't have to go buy nothing because I really focus on my soil being good. And I didn't do this the first few years of gardening, and gardening was costing me a lot of money. I mean, I want y'all to think about it. If it cost you $45 to grow them tomatoes, was they worth it? You really could have probably just went to the store and bought them. Just saying. So let's be practical in the way that we do things. So anyway, going to the next step, I'm gonna show y'all how to activate the charcoal. Get you a bucket, a container of some sort, and remember the comfrey tea that I showed y'all that I made at the beginning. We're going back to it. All right, y'all. So I know this looks horrible. I've thrown a couple of other more things in there. I had some frost damage stuff like those sunflowers, and they got a lot of nutrition in them. The Mexican sunflowers. So yeah, like I said, I know that looks bad, but just take your bucket. It doesn't matter if you get some of the leaves in there. It doesn't matter. And I would say fill it about halfway. Now, you can do this one or two ways. You could have already put some charcoal in there, but I like to actually put my liquid in there first. Now, you can go back to where the charcoal is. Alright, so we're back to the pile of charcoal, right? I got a shovel. Get your nice shovel full. Dump it in the water. Doesn't matter if you get any grass or dirt in with it. Doesn't matter at all. Like I said, if you're using this in the garden, even if you're not using it in the garden, it still don't matter because anything that's not all the way charcoal will still break down. If you get a little dirt, guess what? It's going in the garden anyway. Now, if you're going to use it for barbecue, I still don't think the dirt matters. Because I'm going to wily coyote myself. That ain't burnt though. By the way, I hope y'all can see that bucket. I'm putting it in the bucket, y'all. Y'all wonder. I'm just putting it in the bucket with the water that I got. So once again, we activating this. The comfrey tea has been fermenting for like about a week. Comfrey tea has been fermenting for about a week. So it's full of bacteria, nutrients from the comfrey, all kinds of stuff. It's full of all of that stuff. So that's what it looks like. I just got it in a bucket. Not rocket science. You can see there's a good piece. And like I said, you're gonna have all different size pieces. But you see how it's burnt all the way through? Just about. That's kind of what you're looking for. Like for instance, here's a piece. You can tell it's not burnt all the way through. That's wood. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to pick these out. That's not why I'm showing you this. But as you can see, burn all the way through. And you can tell by the way it sounds as well. It has a very, almost like glass. That's almost what it sounds like. But you see how I can break that. And it's just charcoal. That's all. I won't lie, some of these bigger sticks, I'm almost certain, they're not charcoal all the way through. Like, they're charcoal on the ends. And like I said, you don't have to take that stuff out. It will break down. It's not imperative. But you take that out. You can see I got grass in here. I got leaves in here. A little bit of everything's in here. that I shoveled up. But like I said, that's what you're looking for, people. So what you want to do is leave that in a bucket, let it absorb what it wants to absorb. I usually leave mine in a bucket for 2 days, um, and then it's ready to use in the garden. Like I said, don't have to do this step. If you don't do this step, just be prepared to really have to feed whatever bed that you put that non-activated, because that when it's not activated, it's just charcoal. This is what actually makes it biochar, meaning living. Bio means living, living char, which means it has bioactivity in it, which is microorganisms such as bacteria and all of that, and it's charged with nutrients. This is what actually makes it biochar. So that stuff over there, that's just charcoal. It's not activated. Once this is activated, then it becomes biochar. If you want to just put the charcoal in your garden and activate it via feeding that bed, more than welcome to do that. It works just the same. You don't have to do this step. But if you want to just use that bed and not have to worry about actually feeding it more than you had been, go ahead and activate it. Just make you some tea. And if you don't have any comfrey, see all this stuff right here. This is all weeds to me. Rip all that stuff out of your yard. I'm sure you got weeds. I got another video talking about how to make basically it's fermented plant food. Take all this stuff, put it in water, let it rot down. It doesn't matter what type of greenery it is. All of this stuff requires nutrition in order to grow. It's just some things are more nutrient rich than others, such as comfrey and Mexican sunflowers. So if you're not growing those, try to grow them. But if not, use these weeds in your yard. Make your own tea, make your own stuff. You just put it in water, let it rot for a week. Yeah, it's gonna smell horrible, but it's free, and your plants love it. Plants are very much like George Clinton. They love the funk. So, with that being said, if you got any questions, leave them in the comment section. And until next time, I will see you guys later.